today we're going to go through some stretches that are specific for all my golfers. We're going to work on stretching and opening our shoulders, a little more rotation through your thoracic spine, and internal, external rotation for the hips, all these pieces that are necessary for your golf swing. So we're going to start right on our hands and knees in our quadruped position. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. We're going to start right with a little cat-cow. So on your exhale, you're going to tuck your tail, let your head hang heavy, and just take a few slow breaths in and out here, trying to open up the back of your rib cage a little bit. And then on your inhale, we're going to flow right through. Going to get a little lift of your heart, a little lift of your tail. None of it has to be big. Exhale, start with a tuck of your tail, lift the abs, let your head hang heavy. Inhale, lift the heart, lift your tail, and then one more. Exhale, tuck and round. And then we're going to come right back into what we call a neutral line. I'm going to bend my left knee, and I'm going to side bend towards that left foot, working on a little internal rotation of that hip. Then we're going to go the other way. I'm going to look over my right hip to look for the foot in my gaze. So I inhale as I turn towards the foot that's lifted, and then exhale, turn towards that opposite hip. Inhaling, and then exhale. Again, this is a passive way to just start getting a little internal, external rotation right through your hip. One more. And then we'll return right back to the start position. Knee bends. We're going to inhale, turn towards the foot that is lifted. And then exhale, I'm going to turn towards the opposite foot, looking for that foot in my gaze. Inhale, twisting towards the foot. Exhale, the other way. Two more, inhaling, and then exhale. One more, inhale. Exhale, other direction, and then we return here. On the inhale, I'm going to float my left arm up towards the ceiling. I'm going to push with the right and get that little bit of rotation right through the ribs, and then I'm going to thread this top arm under, reaching, trying to see if I can touch my shoulder and my ear to the mat, getting a stretch through the posterior shoulder. Inhale, reaching the arm up, getting that rotation through your thoracic spine. Exhale, you're going to thread that arm through, getting that rotation, or a stretch to the posterior shoulder. One more. Going to inhale, feel that top side of the ribs rotate more than just jarring the shoulder back. Then you're going to exhale, thread through. If you can indeed touch the shoulder and your head down, you're going to hold there and breathe. If you're not able to touch it down, don't worry, you're still holding it. If you do have the shoulder and the head down, opposite arm can reach up towards the ceiling. And holding for 3 breaths, again working on the rotation of the ribs in your thoracic spine with a stretch in the bottom shoulder. And then we'll return that hand down. Come right through our quadruped position on stretching the other side. So now I'm going to push through my left arm as I reach that right arm up. Then I'm going to exhale, thread that arm through, seeing how it's feeling on this side, right? Each side might be different. And we're going to push through that arm, get the rotation in the ribs, and then thread through, getting a stretch in the posterior shoulder as well as the thoracic spine. One more. Pressing up, and then threading through. Again, if you're not touching down, it's still worthy to be here. If you can touch down, we're going to float that opposite arm up. Again, not jamming the arm back, but working on the rotation of the thoracic spine with a stretch through the posterior shoulder. Holding for 3 breaths, letting it all release. And then the hand goes back down. Come back up into that quadruped position. One more, just a little round there. Then we're going to come up to a kneeling position and start opening up the hips just a little bit. We're gonna take it into a lunge. What we wanna do is open up your hip flexors, because when they release, the glutes get to work a little bit stronger, which we all know is important for your golf swing. So I'm gonna start on my right side. I'm gonna lunge that leg forward. Hand is gonna rest on my leg. Again, don't worry about the range. We're gonna get a little tuck of your tail, and that might be a nice enough stretch for you right there. If you wanna add on, you can lunge forward a little bit more. Getting, like I said, that little bit of open in the hip. Adding on, that same arm can go up. And we're gonna add a little side bend. And I'm gonna turn and demonstrate this a little bit more for you here. As I side bend, I want you to think about pulling that side of the ribs up to the ceiling, not drooping the head, but just carrying it with you. And as you hold it here, you might be able to get a little bit more range. Again, we're still in that forward lunge, opening up this whole side of your body. And then we're gonna bring that right back. Same work, other side. So leg goes forward, a little tuck of your tail. You find how much of a stretch you want and can get into that hip flexor. Turning just for demonstration. Same arm goes up. As you take your side bend, you're thinking about pulling that side of the ribs up, right? Not collapsing down into it, but putting space, breathing into that side, lifting it again up towards the ceiling. And again, once you're here, you might find a little bit more range. And then up, and then lowering that right down. All right, taking it into a little bit more of a hip opener. I'm gonna lunge forward with my left leg. Leg is turned out, hands on the hips. I'm gonna just a little open of the hips here, and then bring it back. A little open, and then return that back. One more, little open. And then we return that right back. We'll do the same 3 on the other side. I'm gonna lunge, letting those adductors open a little bit, and then back, and then a little lunge. One more, little lunge. And then we're back, and foot goes right down from there. Here's where we kind of put it all together and challenge the mobility of your hips. So we're coming into, in Pilates, it's called a mermaid. I've also heard it termed as a 90-90 stretch. So we've got one leg or one hip turned out, another one turning in. So you're gonna see where you can be here. If this is completely unavailable to you, or your knees or hips don't feel good here, put something underneath of you. It could be like a yoga block or a cushion, whatever, but raising your hips up is gonna take out the amount of stretch. All right, reaching the arms forward, you're gonna pull those abs in. Here we're gonna work on a little bit of rotation as well as external rotation of your shoulder. So I'm going to reach forward with one arm. I'm gonna bend the opposite elbow and pull that side of the ribs back, and then return. Again, you're gonna bend, twist, reach that opposite arm forward, and then return. One more. Reach with one arm, pull the opposite arm, get a little external rotation in the shoulder, and you're holding here as you grow taller. Again, don't worry about the range, just try to get a little motion, and then we return. Same idea on the other side. So I'm gonna reach with one arm, bend the opposite, see how much you can pull the ribs or that thoracic spine, and then reach it forward. Reaching with one arm, pulling with the other, and then return, bend. We're gonna add that external rotation of your shoulder here. Long breaths in and out. And again, you might be able to find a little bit of range. Once you're here, don't force it. And then lower those arms down. We're gonna do the same stretches on the other side. Knowing one hip might be different than the other and how it feels, so might your knees. So again, we've got one hip externally rotated, another hip internally rotated. Arms are reaching forward. You're gonna sit up nice and tall. You're gonna bend one elbow. Draw that elbow back as you reach forward with that opposite arm. And then return. And then we pull one arm back, reach with the opposite. And then we return. One more, reaching. Find that external rotation of the shoulder. Holding for a couple of breaths. As you breathe into it, the exhale is really the invite to add a little more rotation, a little more range. And then we return, same one on the opposite side. So you're going to reach with one arm, draw back with the other, and then we return. We reach because as the shoulder blades move, they allow the rib cage, your thoracic spine to move just a little bit more, and then return, and then one more. We find that external rotation of your shoulder. You sit tall as you breathe into that. One more big breath in and out. And then return, and then arms lower down. So those are some ways to increase the rotation in your thoracic spine, a little stretch and mobility in your shoulders, and find that internal, external rotation of your hips. I hope you found these helpful. Always feel free to give me a thumbs up, like, or drop me a comment. And thanks for joining me today.